Oh yeah. This is Winning Hearts, Wrestling Otome game. By Christy Jimenez and Katie133. And it is exactly what it says in the tin. Am I really going to play a game that's a visual novel, Otome, about professional wrestling? You're damn right. It's a romantic comedy visual novel. We play a female creative writer working for a professional wrestling federation known as Next Generation Wrestling, a Liverpool wrestling promotion. So we're in the British wrestling scene too. So our main character, who we get a bit of design control over, we're an aspiring professional wrestler, but had those prospects hampered by a bad leg injury. So instead, we joined the writing team of Next Generation Wrestling. So, with the naive passion of rocketing new stars to the moon, we encounter the internal political strife of being on a pro wrestling creative team, where the boss comes in, says, "You don't like what you like. You like what I tell you to like." And pushes his agenda. Runs all the scripts. All the feuds get run through him. Everything is all about meeting Ronnie's standards. And the fans are tuning out. The internet turns on your product. Our two top stars aren't getting over. And things are looking downhill. But then one day, the newest title belt starts talking to you. He encourages you to take control of the main title feud. You'll be able to turn things around and find love along the way in this wacky world known as professional wrestling. Well, this is in fact a demo, but, ooh. A bit of customization here. Oh, that's an interesting option. That's nifty. Let's do it. What is the main character's name? Max 10 characters. Okay. I think we're gonna go with Amy. Why not? You recently started listening to a wrestling podcast on Optify, the hottest audio streaming service platform in the world. The host is enjoyable, and you can't help but feel pulled in by her excitement. She's definitely one of those people who can read you the phone book and you'd still be entertained. A new episode of her podcast just was released, so you decide to take a listen. The story you're about to listen to is a little strange. After all, the world of wrestling is weird. I'll be your narrator for this story, Jenna. This tale takes place in Liverpool, England. Liverpool is a hotspot for wrestling. However, at one Liverpool promotion, Next Generation Wrestling, that's where careers go to die. Here's our little glossary here. Next Generation Wrestling is a wrestling promotion in Liverpool, England. It's been around for a couple of years and is run by Ronnie, a millionaire who has no idea what he's doing, though he likes to think he does. This is where our protagonist Amy also works. In a few lines you'll find out how crappy this promotion is, for the fans and the people who work there. Our protagonist is Amy, my best friend. Her actions will determine how this tale ends. I won't spoil how this story ends. You're just going to have to listen to this podcast to find out. I hope that you enjoy this story, whether you're a wrestling fan or not. That out of the way, let's get into Amy's story. Oh, so is this the framing device for this game? That's nifty. That's cute. And welcome back to Next Generation Wrestling. During the commercial break, Slip was able to get the upper hand and put our beloved Zorro into an ankle lock. The hole's been locked in for a few minutes now. The audience is waiting with bated breath to see if our beloved Zorro was going to tap. It does. I think we might see the crowd start throwing chairs at Slip. I doubt that would happen. That would imply the audience cares about the match to react like that. Possibly more likely to Joey Legend him. Backstage, members of the crew, including my awful boss, are watching the match unfold on one of the mini-screens. Although the main focus should be on the match, my eyes can't help but wander to the empty seating area behind the two wrestlers. It's become a bad habit of mine that I haven't been able to kick yet. Zorro is crawling to the bottom rope, itching for some hope to get out of Slip's brutal ankle lock, like Hercules trying to escape Hades. Will he reach for the rope? Of course he will. He always does. He's been through the same song and dance already. Ask him! Ask him! Will Slip finally get his first win in NGW? Just the other commentator, Walter, says that Zorro was able to get his pinky finger on the rope. Which means Slip will have to break the hold. Rope break! Never mind. 1, 2, 3, 4. Walter sounds so defeated. So he's given up hope trying to get the audience at home to care about this match. Despite the odds, Zorro was able to get his hands on the bottom rope. Ref is trying to tell Slip to break the hold, but he refuses. Is he trying to break this man's ankle? Break the hold, come on. 1, 2, 3. With her commentary partner tapping out, Jenna is forced to pick up the load and exude even more energy, which I didn't think was possible until now. Someone has to care about this match after all. Once again, I can't help but look toward the seating area. Out of the handful of audience members we have, maybe about 20% of them are actively paying attention, all of them being little kids. The adults in the arena don't seem to care at all as they look down at their phones. They pay money for tickets, and even then, they can't be bothered to watch. What does that say about them? What does that say about our product? It reminds me when I begged my parents to take me to a puppet show starring the beloved Nino the Narwhal. Even though my parents paid money for all three of us to go see it, me and the other children were the only ones engaged. Taking a long, deep breath. It's okay, Amy. It'll be fine. Stop worrying. The audience will jump for joy when Zorro wins, for the 3rd time in a row. Maybe. A swift kick from Slip's right leg to Zorro's chest. Did you hear the sound that kick made? Even Helen Keller could have heard that. It's the start of Zorro's downfall. NGW's beloved hero laid down in defeat. As we know, hero or good guy in wrestling is called face, which is the term we will be using going forward. The goal is a face to get cheered by the fans. Wrestling feuds are between a face and a heel. Typically. Though there have been times when feuds have had 2 faces going up against each other, or 2 heels, though aren't usually as engaging. Face-face feuds can be engaging if both faces are really over, but heel-heel feuds are the marked exception. If you have 2 faces who are both over, you gotta get the fans behind either of them, split support, dual cheers. You can also play off the feud as like a gentlemanly contest. Test of wills between them, and also potentially tease one of them possibly turning on the other, breaking the rules, all in the name of getting a win. Say, heel matches are harder to get behind, so to speak. Because the point of heels in wrestling in general is to get their comeuppance. So who is the audience going to get behind when you have 2 bad guys feuding with each other? Worst case scenario, they're just gonna boo all over everyone. See right now the current state of the TNT title picture in AEW. Our wonderful Zorro is the face. Jenna, never doubt Zorro. We've seen him go through 3 tables at once, one of them being on fire. There's no stopping a fox when it has its eyes on something. You're right, Walter. Zorro does whatever it takes to survive. Whoa! Zorro manages to not slip to the ground with its fox's grasp. aka a backbreaker. Slip suddenly dropping the ring echoes throughout the entire venue, causing some audience members to look up. However, not all of them. The Fox's grasp. Now Zorro's. Oh, what's this? What is Zorro doing? He's going up. Zorro stumbling to climb to the top rope. Are we going to see the new horizon? Slip just getting up, trying to collect himself. And Fox's grasp must have knocked the wind out of him. Zorro gets to the top rope. The entire crowd, even that kid who's looking at his phone, looks up to see Zorro pull that 450-degree flip. And of course he does. For the first time in the match, the crowd shows some emotion. Claps, cheering, and gasps echo throughout the noticeably small venue. We were told that we would eventually be able to afford a much bigger arena to host our shows at. It's been over a year since my boss promised the crew that. As I think about that forgotten promise, Zorro goes for the pin. The vast luchador, Zorro, stands tall over his opponent as planned. And Zorro takes the win over Slip. Just a premonition of what's to come in 2 weeks at NGW Revolution for the brand new NGW belt? Swear to God, Jenna, if you call the NGW title a belt, I gotta get my promoter voice on. I swear to God, Jenna, if you call the NGW title a belt one more frickin' time. Ronnie grumbles loudly into the headset like a deranged dog. If Slip can't pick up a win soon, he can kiss that title goodbye. Maybe even his career. You know, you would think Zorro would be happy he got the win. It's the face of this feud, after all. However, his eyes betray him. He looks disappointed. Does his victory even matter when barely anybody cares? It's belittled even further when he picks up a victory against a guy who's a jobber and hasn't won a damn match in his entire NGW career. Yeah. A jobber is someone who is constantly losing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to go into more detail, you could say that you could define a jobber as a guy who specifically is there to lose and put people over. Although, it's also said that when you lose repeatedly, you're a jobber. It's not always fair, but in this case, Slip is doing the job, and Slip's supposed to be the heel in our feud. He's supposed to be a threat to Zorro. Constantly losing removes any credibility that Slip could possibly have. Heel? A term to describe the bad guy or a villain in professional wrestling. Their goal is to get booed by the fans and pose a threat to the good guys. In this story, Slip is our heel. I think these two are going to be fighting again in a few weeks for the title. A jobber heel. And a face who are both getting dragged down by the same song and dance. What was that already a small crowd gets even tinier due to a group of people heading straight for the door, not even giving Zorro the time of day. However, before the camera can focus on them too much, it quickly cuts to a small group of children cheering on Zorro. They're all wearing his mask, which we're selling at a huge discount. Where's the smarky jerk in the crowd going, Super Dragon! Super Dragon! This isn't fine. Point of this being, we're not doing well. Ever since I was a small fry, all I ever wanted was to be a wrestler. Oh, when I grow up, I want to be a wrestler. Mourning over Brecky, I told my parents that my mum, being the protective parent she was, couldn't hide her worry. Sweetie, are you sure? I want to be a doctor. I said I want to be a wrestler. Bless my poor mum's soul, she was only just looking out for her only child. There was nothing she could say or do that would change my little mind. There was something magical about pro wrestling. Seeing wrestlers come down the ramp with kick-ass music accompanied by an obscene amount of pyro as they rush into the ring to put on an amazing match, as if it were their last, still to this day leaves me speechless. No one has been able to replicate what professional wrestling can do. When I become a wrestler, I'm gonna have fire during my entrance. Oh, and a ton of fireworks going pew 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 pew. You can do without the fire. But it wouldn't be the same without the fire, babe. Dad gets it. Don't encourage her. Despite my mum's worries, both my parents wanted me to pursue what made me happy. If that was a career in wrestling, then they were okay with it. Because I was a girl, I wasn't allowed to take wrestling classes. Nothing about the boys being too tough for me. No matter the reason, it was a load of bollocks. So my next best option was to go to the gym to get stronger. I even took up gymnastics classes to work on my flexibility. Passing day meant that I was a day closer to having my dream of becoming a professional wrestler realized. But that's when I learned. Just when things are on the up and up, that's exactly when life shoves a middle finger right in your face to bring you back down to reality in the most painful way possible. One day, some stupid snot-nosed brat told me that I sucked. I'll never become a professional wrestler unless I become cute. But according to him, I was too butt ugly for that to happen. Oh, I told that twat I'd show him how good I can be by doing a kick-ass double flip because that's how much I don't suck. Paired myself with a flip on the balance beam. But me didn't think, hey, maybe don't do that because you might fall and hurt yourself. Maybe do it on a padded floor instead from a height. What's the thing about being a kid? You're stupid. So I attempted the flip, but my foot slipped as if the beam was covered in butter and I fell, landing on my leg, which resulted in it being twisted like a spaghetti noodle. Crack. Boom. Ugh. See, vicious vibes. During the course of their careers, wrestlers endure a lot for their craft. On a weekly, sometimes even on a daily basis, they put their bodies on the line to entertain the fans in attendance. Concussions, torn pectoral muscles, bruised bodies, torn ACL, and even breaking their ankle after a botched baseball slide. And these injuries can heal after months and months of therapy, but others? They can be career enders. Mine was a dream ender. Even after all the physical therapy, I still walk a little funny. However, when I spent all those nights crying to myself as my parents expressed their worries over the dining table when they thought I was asleep, it fueled me to find a new dream. Maybe I couldn't be a professional wrestler, but I could do something else in the industry. A creative writer for a wrestling promotion is what I wanted to be. I realized that all the great storylines in wrestling were, in part, thanks to amazing writers. I honed my writing, spending time after school with teachers, begging for feedback as if my life depended on it. I invested 4 years and a ton of money in uni to get the degree I needed to just apply for the job. Then after rejection, I landed a job with Next Generation Wrestling. To this day, I can remember the utter joy I felt when I was told I would have so much freedom, and I'll be the one who would help skyrocket these wrestlers into stardom. That was going to be important. And I started actually working here. Once again, reality came crashing down on me like a sack of bricks. All right, Amy, what do you have for us? It was my first day on the job as a creative writer. Every week, the creative team of the booker, who was also my boss, Ronnie, come together to discuss the ideas for upcoming shows, storylines, and any new gimmick ideas that we may have for the talent. Booker is someone who's in charge of setting up matches and writing storylines into professional wrestling promotion. Bookers can also be in charge of recruiting and hiring new talent. With Ronnie being the owner of NGW, him being the booker makes sense. Though how good he is as a booker is a whole different story. I had jotted down a bunch of ideas the night before, eager to present them to everyone. I think we should start a women's tournament to determine who will win the NGW women's title. This will help us dedicate more time to the women, give them a platform they need to show off their skills and prove that they're just as good as the men. That just lasts about 10-15 minutes, and our finalist should be Mrs. Perfection and Kaneko. Mrs. Perfection's gracious, graceful movement would perfectly clash against Kaneko's hard-hitting style. Why do I need a women's tournament, damn it? His tone was pointed, as if I just insulted his family or something. Ronald, with all due respect. Ronnie! His tone was pointed, to make my coworker shake in his boots. Slowly, the air in the room has shifted from the normal working atmosphere of getting meetings, professional and maybe a bit boring, to something tense and dreadful. But Ronnie, with all due respect, I think Amy's idea is great. What the fans of the female wrestlers have been asking for more airtime. This would be perfect. You don't need a women's tournament, damn it. Plus, who would you have winning the title, Amy? Kaneko? Really? You want Miss Perfection to lose to Kaneko? What's the big issue with Mrs. Perfection Mrs. Perfection is losing? The past 3 months she's been on a winning streak. One loss isn't going to hurt her whatsoever. Plus, whoever's the one to put the end to her streak will have their value elevated tenfold. It's a win-win situation. And I agree with Annie. Theo, a producer, trainer, and possibly one of the few sane people here, chimed in. Ooh, producers do everything. Help wrestlers get ready for their matches, plan storylines, give feedback to wrestlers on their matches. They any information to various parties. Often, producers are former wrestlers, which Theo is. Interesting. Seeing someone who's been in the business for a very long time come to my aid brought a smile to my face. Kaneko can work in the ring, and she has the charisma that a champion needs. She's beloved by the fans, and the internet loves her too. You know how rare it is for a wrestler to be universally loved. Not to mention that she's here day in, day out. Dedication to this company should be rewarded. We don't capitalize on her now. We not get another chance like this again. Ronnie groans, pinching the bridge of his nose. What's so bad about Kaneko winning the title? No. Kaneko being champion won't work at all. Mrs. Perfectionist all the way. Oh no. Kaneko at best is a B+ player. Mrs. Perfectionist is the face of the women's division. Only does she have the in-ring presence, but she also has the looks, damn it. A term to describe someone who's good, but isn't good enough for something. In this case, Ronnie is saying that Kaneko is a good wrestler, but she's not good enough to be considered championship material. Similar when your boss praises you for all your hard work, but doesn't think you're ready to be promoted for whatever reason. The compliment that's not really a compliment. Looks? What does he mean by that? Ronnie, what do you mean she has the looks? She's beautiful. She's great to look at. Kaneko, not so much. A huge factor in whether women got featured in wrestling shows was her looks. Whether she was a good wrestler or not was irrelevant, as people in charge believe that only looks matter. If you look up matches from the 90s to early 2010s, a dark days in women's wrestling, you'll see that an overwhelming majority of women's matches only lasted a few minutes. Sometimes the female wrestlers were in matches but they had to wear lingerie. Crazy, right? Sometimes, occasionally, you're in a match where you have to strip your opponent down to their lingerie, and because the 90s were awful, the person who got stripped down to their lingerie was given the women's championship because they were stripped down to their lingerie. That was the state of how wrestling organization treated women back in the day. Yeah, that was a dark time. Thankfully, the industry is starting to take female wrestlers more seriously, and they're now being hired for their prowess as a wrestler instead of how pretty they are. Things are markedly better. There's very much still room for improvement in the major promotions, but... What the hell? Are you kidding me, Ronnie? Theo slams his hands down the desk, he gets up on his feet, ready to lunge across the table and kick Ronnie's ass. For starters, Kaneko's not a B+ player. Second, you're really going to decide who should be champion based on how they look rather than their talent. Listen. Because an incredibly small vocal minority wants Kaneko to be champion doesn't mean it's the correct decision. Of a match at Hellscape between Mrs. Perfection and Jade Torres for the title. Mrs. Perfection will win, obviously. So we're going to keep pushing Mr. Perfection as the top star while we leave the rest of the division by the wayside. Mr. Perfection is talented. I don't see the issue here, damn it. God damn it, Ronnie. That's not the issue here. Theo darts across the room, getting in Ronnie's face. Not deny that Mr. Perfection is talented. The issue is that you've given her all the spotlight. She's in a match every week. She's featured in every pay-per-view. She's won the Women's Championship over 10 times. Holy shit. God damn. Pay-per-views are a type of paid programming where the viewer can watch an event via private telecast. Think of a boxing event with big fights. The price of a pay-per-view differs between each company and the event. Some can be as cheap as $29.99 and upwards of $59.99. Some wrestling companies do offer a streaming service with a monthly, much cheaper alternative if you're a wrestling fan. Just think of all the movies and shows you can watch with that subscription. You're gonna give the other woman in the division a chance to shine. Winning a tournament and giving someone else the title for a change is the answer. Theo, you best not raise your tone with me. I know what's best for this company, and I don't appreciate that you think otherwise. If you truly think that, feel free to leave now, and so I can sign your termination papers. Is no one gonna back me up here? We're new here. What could go wrong if we say something? While the writers look down at their mahogany table, refusing to acknowledge Theo. Should I speak up or stay quiet? Ronnie, with all due respect, I agree with Theo. Amy? Ronnie leans back in his chair and smiles at me. However, it isn't warm. It's a little menacing. We have to move on. We can't spend all day talking about one feud. This perfection is winning the title at Hellscape. End of story. I sink into my seat, feeling powerless in this situation. Theo shoots me a concerned look before sitting back down. So we're all in agreement about Miss Perfection winning the title at Hellscape. Everyone in the room, except Theo and me, nods. There's a story I remember being told once of a group training activity where essentially the idea was you're debating. It was taking place in a workplace environment, and you're debating. I forget the exact scenario, but we're trying to come to a consensus on a decision. To some degree. I think it was an order of who to save in a hypothetical scenario. And there was debate going on in the room. Just a debate wasn't really going anywhere, and then one guy, who's a general manager, gets up, goes up to the front of the room. Yeah, the idea was you were supposed to decide what order you're gonna save a bunch of people. The hypothetical scenario. So this guy, a general manager, goes up to the front of the room and just writes out the names on the board in the order. Someone objects to him. He says, anyone else here in the room a general manager? Nope. And this is what we're doing. End of story. And that was the end of the debate. Same power dynamic here. We've come to a consensus, and by that I mean one person came to a consensus, and everyone else backed down in fear. All right, let's move on to the feud between Tyrone Maverick and Ali. I spent another hour planning future shows, but I came to find out that all those hours spent in meetings would sometimes be for naught, because Ronnie had a tendency to change things last minute. 2 hours before a show, time to rewrite the ending of a match. My precious time. Wasted. After that meeting was done, I remember Ronnie pulling me aside while the rest of my colleagues left to go home. Amy. Yes? I know you're new around here, so I'm not going to be hard on you. Draped his arm around my shoulder. See, I have this vision for NGW. Other promotions have lost sight of what true, great wrestling is. But me, I'm different. NGW is different. I want you to follow me around for the next few weeks and take note of what I say during meetings, so you can see my vision for this place. And maybe you'll start pitching good ideas. Okay. To this day, I still don't know what was so funny about my idea. Fast forward and here we are! We're holding shows to almost no one. Ratings are plummeting, and oh god, don't get me started on what people have been saying about us online. Say they've been brutal about our promotion is putting it kindly. It's all because Ronnie has this skewed perception of what great wrestling is, and anyone tries to speak up against him. Let's just say many great talented wrestlers like Kaneko have been pushed to the undercard. Are classified as lower card workers even though they deserve to be at the top. Undercard. So just like boxing, wrestling also has something called a card. think of the card as a hierarchy with 3 tiers: top of the card, mid card, and lower card workers. If you're at the top of the card, typically that means you're a top star. Your match is usually the main event or the second to last. Main event, semi-main. Kaneko's case, she's a lower card wrestler. It means her matches are usually put on first and last 5 to 10 minutes max. She also won't get as many matches as other wrestlers who place higher on the card. You had less emphasis put on your matches. You jerk the curtain, aka you're first one out. Which, being first match of the night has its benefits. In some cases in terms of television product, where first match of the night and you go out, put on a fast-paced banger of a match to get the crowd riled up and into the show. Some even left to go to promotion that would treat them better. A lot of writers have walked out that door too. I can't blame them. I mean, who would want to be treated like that? Treated like crap every day. And then you have the card structure of like a New Japan Pro Wrestling, where your first match of the night is usually a singles match or a tag match with the Young Lions, the trainee wrestlers. It's either a tag match between the trainee Young Lions, or a tag match involving Young Lions tagging with the older roster members there to give them experience and whatnot. And even then, you have like your first few matches of a New Japan show. You have your Young Lion match, then you have multi-man tag matches, which are generally inconsequential. And then, like, the second half of the show is where the proper, meaningful matches come in to play. I can't blame them. I mean, who'd want to be treated like crap every day? And that's a wrap. Good luck, everyone. Thank you, Kevin Dunn. Once the copyright logo flashes on the screen, our broadcast ends. The assembly team heads out to the ring to clean up the venue. Zorro makes his way into Gorilla. He's still wearing that pitiful look on his face. We look each other in the eyes, which causes my heart to break for him even more. Gorilla, part of backstage where various crew members watch the action. A bunch of monitors are displayed, showing the different camera angles. It's also where wrestlers exit to go to the ring. The good old gorilla position, named for legendary Gorilla Monsoon, I believe. Quickly breaks eye contact and heads toward the back, potentially towards the locker room. Maybe to grab what's left from catering. Eventually, Slip emerges. He's wearing a bright, toothy smile, his energy rivaling the intensity of the sun. Great job out there, Zachary! Taking out his headset, he pulls Slip into a hug. No, thank you for the great opportunity, Ronnie. Just keep giving me more appealing material. And in time, the audience is gonna eat my gimmick up. Good one, pal. That pun was horrible. Walk with me, Zachary. I want to talk with you about a couple of things. Oh, sure thing, boss. Slip leaves Gorilla with Ronnie, and I swear I could have seen Slip's smile disappear from his face. It was just my imagination? Never seen him not smile. Okay, so I see what's up with Slip. He's the guy trying to make the most of a terrible gimmick the boss gave him. Amy! Oh! Hearing that all too familiar voice, I look up to see who else but my best friend Jenna. You hungry? I'm dying to get the last bit of catering. I had out there with some darn icy blast. My doctor told me to stay off soda for a while. Listen, if you don't show those drinks on air, we'll lose out on that precious sponsorship money. And frankly, we need all the money we can get right now. I chose really well. That creates a really cute contrast between these two, pink and blue. Still, couldn't have waited for something a bit more healthy? I guess not. Two of us grab what's left in catering and sit down on the only comfortable couch backstage. Talk about everything and anything. Apparently a bunch of ladybirds are infesting Jenna's flat. Yeah, ladybirds is British slang for ladybugs. Also, did you know that killing ladybugs is illegal in the state of Connecticut? The developer behind this game's mom found this out of a bunch of ladybugs infested their home once. Oh, that's unfortunate. Hopefully nothing serious came out of that. And the exterminator said, I can't kill him, love. It goes against my morals. Bloody hell, you're in the business to exterminate things. What do you mean you got morals? Maybe you should ask the ladybirds to help pay rent? Jenna points her salad fork at me, sees her dressing barely missing me. Now that's an idea. This brain is full of great ideas just waiting to be heard. I just wish Ronnie felt the same way. Jenna gobbles down the rest of her Caesar salad. You did a great job on commentary tonight, by the way. Thanks. I wish the old man thought the same way. He was screaming in my ear all night over the smallest things. Maybe you should have called the title a belt. You know how he is about that. It's your belt. It wraps around your waist like a belt. Title just sounds weird. I mean, do you wrap a title around your waist? I see the queen wrap her title around her like a belt. That'd make royalty matters more interesting if she did. I'm sure you can't wear an actual royal title around your waist, Jenna. That'd make British royalty matters way more interesting if royal titles were contested for like wrestling title belts. Exactly. What about me? How's it backstage tonight, Amy? Same old, same old? Did you talk to Ronnie at all about the Slip and Zorro feud? Promised Jenna that I would sit down with Ronnie, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. It's more like I refuse to get around to it. Talking to Ronnie is like going into a haunted house that's actually haunted. Do I dare risk my life? Or should I stay away, even if I might be able to solve the problem? If I try to talk to him, I will lose my job for sure. If I don't, we'll become the wrestlers. I've spent countless sleepless nights trying to decide on what to do and still haven't come up with an answer. Should I really vent to Jenna about all this right now? She just got off work and I really don't want to be a bother. At the same time, I don't know how much longer I can keep this bottled in before, I eventually have a breakdown. Let's be honest with our friend about that. Amy? You know what's the worst part about all this? You're supposed to be able to go to your boss and tell them your issues without worry, but you can't do that with someone like Ronnie. I've gone to HR, but I doubt they would do anything, especially if it's an issue that involves the man who signs their paychecks. Come on, say something. You're scaring me. I don't know what to do, Jenna. I haven't been able to work up the courage to talk to Ronnie because I know if I try to say something, it'll cost me my job. If I don't say anything, probably wrestlers I'm being credited for writing their storyline will have their careers ruined. I mean, you're out there. You've seen how the crowds have been reacting to Zorro and Slip's feud, their matches. It's like we're performing in a bingo hall. It's deathly quiet. The feud's not that bad. It is. Zorro doesn't have a character. Sure, he's super talented in the ring. That's not all there is to a wrestler. You have a character. Just act like the silent protagonist, like he does. How can people cheer or boo you? That's true, but hey, they're reacting to Slip at least. Because they genuinely hate the guy, not the character he's pretending to be. He's getting go-away heat instead of normal heat that a heel would regularly get. If you're playing a bad guy in wrestling, you won't do anything to get heat. Heat refers to a negative crowd reaction like boos. However, go-away heat is something you don't want. Go-away heat is a term used to describe when a crowd genuinely hates a wrestler, not the character they're playing. They'll boo the person to oblivion and chant obscenities at them. This can happen for a multitude of reasons, from the wrestler being a genuinely awful person in real life, or a character being so horrible that the fans grow to hate the real person and don't want to see them anymore. If you're familiar with professional wrestling, this term is also known as X-Pac heat, named for the titular X-Pac back in the day, whose character essentially stayed the same for so long, for so many years after his initial popularity with Degeneration X was relevant, to the point where the fans just utterly turned on him in general. Hence, go-away heat. By the way, Sean Waltman, for all intents and purposes, a genuinely great dude. Much respect. That's also true. It's not normal for fans to chant, "Jump into River Mercy" at a wrestler. He's not even supposed to take slips seriously when his entire gimmick revolves around being a banana fanatic. Not the 80s anymore, where a turkey can hatch out of an egg and have that be considered decent content. Love, that was never considered decent content. Yes, a man dressed up as a turkey did indeed hatch out of an egg in 1990. Yep, Survivor Series 1990. The gobbledygooker hatched out of an egg in the middle of a pay-per-view and did a funky little dance in the middle of the ring with Mean Gene Okerlund. And then he went away and came back in 2020 to win a really terrible title. Because wrestling is incredibly weird. It's 2022 and people want to see well-written characters and great storylines, not that garbage that Ronnie's pushing out. If this storyline ends up being a piece of shite, you know who's going to take the fall? Not Ronnie, but Zorro and Slip for not being able to make garbage into goddamn gold. And they'll blame me for ruining their careers because I kept saying yes to Ronnie's stupid ideas, writing what he's basically telling me to write. After I shared my midlife crisis with Jenna 15 years too soon. Now I notice that I'm crying. I wipe away the tears with my sleeve. Amy. Jenna wraps a comforting arm around me, pulling me into a side hug. I'm so sorry. It's fine. Jenna pats me a few times on the back before breaking the hug. Is it, though? Basically just had a breakdown in front of the entire crew. In this environment, it's nothing they haven't seen before. You don't have to keep enduring this crap, right? You can quit any time you want, be rid of this giant headache. Thought about it. Don't be afraid to quit. Quitting doesn't make you a loser. You know that, right? Under most circumstances, like in sports, yes, it does. Amy? But yeah, I know what you mean. If it ever becomes too much, quit and find somewhere else to work. Deserve only the best, Amy. And if that means we won't be together anymore, I'll support you because your well-being trumps everything else. Oh. Can't help but crack a smile. You're sweet. Thanks, Gemma. Amy? Oh, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. Dan and I turned around to an breath crew member. Poor guy, he really must have looked everywhere. Ronnie needs to see you. And the despair is back. Fantastic. Best friend and I exchanged looks. Hers is one of concern, while mine looks like I just shite my pants. Gotta be kidding me. Oh. Amy? You got this. And hey, if you survive, we can go out to the Cavern Club and I'll buy you a drink. I just might take you up on that. I'll be in the locker room if you need me, and I'll talk to some of the talent and see if they want to appear on my podcast. Jenna gives me one last encouraging smile before I walk in the direction of what I feel like is certain death. When I get to Ronnie's office, somehow I became more nervous than I already was. It's like when someone is about to head into church for the first time, unsure if they'll burst into flames upon entering. Ronnie's intimidating as hell. That's multiplied by the fact that he has muscle on top of muscles at the age of 64, all but concealed under his cashmere suits. What does Ronnie need me? Is he planning on firing me? Or does he want to pitch his idea for next week's show, ask me to write it down, and tell me to flesh it out in time for the next creative meeting? Does he want to tell me how great he is? If I nod and smile like one of his yes men. This is very obvious who Ronnie is based on. Listen, Theo, I'm right into the issue. I think it's Slip and Zorro. They're not giving it their all. Oh, Theo's in there. Oh, shite, Theo's in there. Judging from how loud Ronnie is being, I can tell that their meeting hasn't been a pleasant one so far. And again, when is any meeting with Ronnie pleasant? That's BS and you know it. If I work with them every day and I see how hard these wrestlers work, they put in 110% every goddamn day. Well, clearly it's not enough. You're asking the impossible, Ronnie. It's not the wrestler's fault they can't get over a shit script and storyline. Slip's gimmick is being a banana. Zorro doesn't cut promos. No one knows what his character is besides being a good guy luchador who wears a mask. It's not the 80s anymore. We can get away with one-dimensional characters. People want to see wrestlers who are real. Banana gimmick is funny, but it's absolutely not. No, they don't. Even if they did, we have to appeal to a wider audience. Do you even look at the ratings? I don't need to. Ratings mean nothing. Don't talk to me about the dirt sheets. For God's sake, Ronnie. You know what? Fine. I'm going to do my job, encouraging our town to do their best, while you continue to drive them and the ratings further into the ground. Won't take the heat for it when this place goes belly side up. I refuse to. Theo throws open the door, nearly hitting me. Slams the door behind him with all his might. That's when his eyes land on me. I swear he has more wrinkles than he did when I saw him earlier tonight. That's Ronnie's soul-sucking energy working its dubious magic on people. Maybe that's how Ronnie looks so young and built despite being in his 60s. He leeches energy from everyone. And he also takes lots of IcoPro. Amy? Hey, Theo? You heard all that, didn't you? Yeah. Theo lets out a heavy sigh. But of all that is holy, please say something to him, Amy. Good luck. Theo stomps away, his loud footsteps echoing through the hallway. I knock gently on the door, hoping it won't fall off its hinges. Come in. Open the door at Ronnie's command. About his mood, the sheer aura of this man makes my skin crawl every time I simply hear or see him. Oh, it's a dinosaur skull. Why was it my favorite rider, Amy? How's it going? Hey, boss. Did you hear all that? I nod. Sorry about that. Theo and I were just talking about the reception towards the Slip and Zorro feud. Thinks the issue is the writing, but I think what you're putting out is great. Technically, I'm not the one writing, and you are. And you shout out your ideas at me, and I simply write them down and flesh them out exactly how you want them. Do that because you reject any idea that isn't yours. Simply just follow your orders. Not only to save myself a headache, but also to keep my job. Maybe Theo's right, I should say something. This storyline is complete crap and is hurting everyone involved. If Ronnie just let me do my job, I can make something out of this storyline. Hell, if we let all the writers just do what they were hired to do, maybe this promotion could become something. And again, maybe I shouldn't. Ronnie's already pissed after that conversation with Theo. I'd just be adding fuel to the fire. Don't you agree, Amy? Well, let's get fired. Well, actually, by the way, did you get to work on that promo for next week? Well, there goes that. Not yet, but it'll be done in time for the next creative meeting. And you have the notes I gave you? Mm-hmm. Excellent. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how many banana puns you can fit in there. Just to clarify, should Zorro be doing anything? No. He's a silent hero. Eventually they'll get tired of all the banana puns and beat the life out of Slip. I'll get the crowd to cheer for him. It's only because our entire audience wants to legitimately beat the crap out of Slip. Now let's get to why you're here. A new NGW title that Slip and Zorro were vying for got finished a few days ago. Normally I would have the title sent to my residence, but there's been a string of burglaries in my neighborhood, and I can't afford for the damn thing to get stolen. So I had it sent to your address. If I'm not mistaken, it should have arrived there earlier this evening. Wait, what? The titles we get commissioned are top of the line. Made out of the finest leather and gold plating. Knowing Ronnie, he probably got a ton of gems encrusted in there as well. These titles cost more than I make in a year. No, scratch that, 5 years. Why would he send one of them to my flat? Wait, why did you do that? I meant to tell you sooner, trust me. But even if you ever own your own company, you learn that a lot is on your plate. Oops. From managing contracts to scouting new talent, sometimes little things like this get forgotten. I wouldn't exactly call this a little thing. It's also because I like you, Amy. I like him because I don't talk back like Theo does. Thanks, Ronnie. I have to tiptoe around Ronnie. Make sure the edges of my lips are curled up in a smile and that my tone has an ounce of life to it. So he doesn't know how much I both fear and despise him. It's tiring. Now get going, and I'll see you at our next meeting. He shoos me away as if I'm some annoying little brat. Being his favorite, he likes to show his love in odd ways. Bye, Ronnie. I shut the door behind me, feeling a bit better than when I walked in, but that pit in my stomach remains, so I guess I'm not feeling all that better. Well, I can't dilly-dally. Gotta get home and start working. Walk up the front steps to my flat. Mossley Hill is an area in Liverpool that has wide patches of land filled with either grass fields or conker trees. I want to say that my flat's building looks like a thatched cottage or a brickwork house from the 1930s. That would be a load of rubbish. I'm pretty sure the building I was living in was made in the 2000s, judging by how rectangular it looks. A strangely modern building in the middle of what looks like the woods. There's some sort of party going on in one of the other flats. People are walking up and down the hallway covered in silly string. One guy is carrying a pack of beer with a broad grin on his face. Couples are holding hands, trying to find a space to dance as the music blasts through the open door. I don't know who lives in that flat, but I imagine they're going to receive a large number of complaints from the other tenants. I look at the familiar door with the golden number 4 on it. The front door to my flat. Right there's a tall, thin box poking halfway out of my letterbox. Someone managed to pull out the jammed parcel without it sustaining any noticeable damage. Whew. I heard the thumps loudly as the music continues to play. As if on cue, the track finishes as I fit my keys through the lock and open the door to my home. I place the parcel carefully on the table. I sit across from it. For a few fleeting moments, I simply stare at what's in front of me. The big title that 2 of my guys are fighting for, sitting right in front of me. I take in a heavy breath and exhale. Okay, let's open this thing and see what this belt looks like. Grab a knife and carefully start cutting the massive amount of tape wrapped around the box, which I honestly think is a bit overkill. If I didn't have any scissors, I would have been at this all night. I finally get through it all. The next thing I see is an obscene amount of bubble wrap that is encasing a bag. So much bubble wrap that I would make anyone wonder if I wasn't given the world's most prized vase. I unroll the bubble wrap and set it aside, but I'm super bored. I admire the super smooth velvet bag the title is wrapped in before finally undoing the golden strings at the top. Grab the belt and take it out slowly. Holy crap, this is ugly! Your mileage may vary. It's middle of the road. This is a minger. Looks like the thing came from Poundland. What was Ronnie thinking? Yeah. Minger is British slang for something that's ugly, smelly, or unpleasant. In case of the title, it's ugly. Probably not the choice of words I would use for it, given what's about to happen. But hey, you made that choice. Gotta stick with it now, bud. I mean, you totally could reload your save, because I bet you'd save before making that choice, but are you really going to do that? Yes, I am. You can't stop me, game. A sexy-looking title. Who would have thought that I would be the first person to lay their hands on this beaut? For once, Ronnie did something right. Oh, shucks, you're gonna make me blush. You ain't too bad yourself. I tense up. Is there someone in my flat? God, I hope it isn't one of those partygoers again. Last time they came in here, they ended up crying about their breakup. Frantically looking around my place, there doesn't seem to be anyone around. Maybe I'm being haunted by a ghost, just like in my favorite show, Ghost Switch. A cute reference. That was the Katie133's the end game jam game with the all the text and the story was told through emojis. I played that one. Oh God, I hope that doesn't mean I have to end up calling a con man. Hey, down here. Or I should give it a proper voice for the situation. Hey, down here. Look down my lap, right at the title. The other ends of the title move up and down, as if waving at me. The title is talking to me. Is this really happening? Have I finally gone mad? Oh, I'm getting lightheaded. Hey, you're looking a bit pale there. Are you okay? Need to go with the Aussie? No, this word isn't referring to Ozzy Osbourne. It's actually Liverpool slang for a hospital. The more you know. I love this glossary. Dunk. That question is the last thing I hear before darkness consumes me. All that I see, absolute terror.